Good morning, great morning, and I guess we should say goodbye to that entrance music because starting Monday, make sure you tune in for the new entrance music, which we're super excited about.
It's a little bit
Hey, buddy.
longer. It's a little bit longer, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, it's got a whole different vibe to it, and we don't lose the good stuff, but we continue to iterate and make the show 1% better every day. Always good to share the screen with just you, Shay.
Yeah, we do what we do when we have to do what we do.
I love it. Today is Friday for those of you who don't normally join our shows on Friday, which means we have a huddler in the hot seat. And today I'm very excited about today's guest because he's a good friend of mine and he's the leader of possibly the greatest service to all of the kids in South Florida, and maybe probably more so to the parents, because it is the Museum of Discovery and Science. And I've gotten to know Joe through the past couple of years. He's a wonderful human being. He's an amazing leader, and he's done amazing things with the museum. So excited to dive into all of that and talk to that.
I would probably join you if it wasn't for being an hour away.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, you live in Palm Beach, right? So that's more reason that you should even move down to Broward and become part of our Broward crew so that you can become a part of the regulars who are going to the museum every single weekend.
Not in this market, my friend. Not in this market.
That's true too. That's true too. Well, so let's get to the Friday music because it is Friday. So let's get it going.
Sunday, it's Friday again. It's Friday from the spot. It's Friday again. It's Friday from the spot. It's Friday again. It's Friday from the spot. It's Friday again.
And now that the music got you going, let's hit you with the daily affirmation, which today is: don't forget you can start late, start over, be unsure, try and fail, and still succeed. I think my dad put out a post earlier this week that I thought was really great that said, if you had to start over in another direction, would you be able to be successful? Could you do it again in a completely different area? And the answer is yes. Absolutely a resounding yes. And I put on there, I'm currently doing it. Obviously, I had my football career prior to this, my business career, but it comes down to your ability to learn, adapt, and overcome. So a great daily affirmation for you to get the day started and make sure your mind is right. Now let's get to wake up music and walk up music for Joe Cox, and we will get going. Good morning, Joe Cox. Welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle and Huddler in the hot seat. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. That is such a fantastic song. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you.
It absolutely is. Jonathan Aarons, who's watching right now, said I didn't have Oasis on my Friday morning bingo card. Can you tell us why? Why that song for your walk-up song?
It's the greatest song of all time by the greatest band of all time. I mean,
Oh, I
it's
love
easy.
it. I love it.
Oasis were huge when I was at uni in London. Went to see them a bunch, just so many great memories. And it can't come on without it being late in a pub and you just sing along and everyone's singing and it's fantastic.
So the key to Joe Cox's heart, everyone, is playing Oasis or playing Genesis for everybody. So that's the key to you. So you hit on it already. Being in a pub when you were in England, I think everybody can hear your accent. I've already kind of given people the backdrop that you are the CEO and president of the Museum of Discovery and Science. Give everybody your story about how you've ended up here.
Yeah, my journey started out as a bit of an accident and finished undergrad in London. And the best friend and I were going to go on this big backpacking trip around the world. And he accidentally got a job in Hong Kong. And, back then you applied for jobs, sending in a letter and seeing what happened. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go travel around the world on my own. That's pretty sad. And so I was speaking to my biology professor one day, and he's like, well, you could do an internship. And I'm like, what's an internship? This wasn't really a huge thing in England in the 90s. And he pointed to a poster on the wall, and it was this guy in cargo shorts. It was the 90s, a polo shirt, couple of puka shell necklaces. But what really sold me was he was on his hands and knees holding a snake, talking to a group of kids. And outside behind him, there was a window, blue skies, palm trees, not dissimilar to my window in my office now. And this was London in the summer. It was cold, it was gray, it was rainy. And so 6 weeks later, I was on a plane headed to South Florida to be an intern at a nature center.
At a nature center in Naples, if I'm not
Naples,
wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so you started in Naples as an intern and then never went back. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Was really lucky. The nature center sponsored my green card, and I eventually got my citizenship. Loved it there. And over the course of the next 4 years, worked my way up through the ranks. And eventually, I was the executive director of the Nature Center in Naples and discovered, this is a really great career opportunity and kept going.
And so when you say kept going, I know that took you from there to Massachusetts and then Massachusetts back to South Florida. For some reason, you decided to go back to gray and cold weather. Talk us through a little bit about that journey of becoming the CEO in Massachusetts and then coming back.
Yeah, so one day I was at the Nature Center in Naples, and one of the mums of a summer camp kid came into my office talking about her son, Ben. And she's like, can I show you something? And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty open-ended question, but sure. So she runs out to the car and comes back in with a sketch of a building. And I'm like, what's this? She's like, I'm going to build a children's museum. And I'm like, what's a children's museum? And she literally said, it's a place where families can play, learn, and dream together. And she wanted me to help her find an executive director. So we went out for, this is starting to sound familiar, we went out for a 3-hour lunch at a pub. And over the 3 hours, I persuaded her that she needed the executive director to be a 5'9.5" British guy. And she hired me. And so we spent 8 years raising $26 million to build what is now the Golisano Children's Museum of Naples. Never done a capital campaign before, never built a museum before. It's now a staple of the Naples community. After that happened, I got a lot of phone calls to kind of go somewhere else, do something else. And one of the ones that really appealed was the Ecotarium, a old science museum founded in 1825 in Worcester, Massachusetts. So opportunity to do something new, keep learning, keep growing, and off I went.
Amazing. And then That was so was the determining factor to come back to South Florida to get out of the cold weather again, or
Oh
was
yeah.
there other factors at play that brought you back?
It's the cold weather was certainly one, but I had finished a couple of big capital campaigns at the Ecotarium, and I had a really wise mentor who said, every now and again, even if you're in a job that you love, take an interview, consider a conversation with someone, just, to see what's out there in the world.
Mm.
And so I got a call, and it was, August, maybe September, and winter was coming in New England. I loved what I was doing up there. And part of me was like, you know what? I could go down to Fort Lauderdale for a couple of interviews, see what it's like. It'll be nice and warm. And after the first meeting, I met the search committee, and the Museum of Discovery and Science has always had an incredible board all the way back to our beginning in 92. And so when I sat in the room with some incredible leaders from our community, I was like, wow, this isn't a really impressive institution. I could absolutely come down, be a part of this team, and I see their vision. They hear my vision. I think this could be a really, really great connection.
That's amazing. So have you ever been described as fearless?
Fearless. I don't know.
Have you ever looked at
it
yourself
goes
as
with
fearless?
bold, right? I've never really thought of that. I think I just do what I do with passion and with enthusiasm. So if that's fearlessness, I guess I'm fearless.
Well, so it's interesting because, I mean, your story, right? You, without any kind of plan or real idea of what's going to happen, you decide to take an internship in Naples, and then you've continued to keep yourself open to opportunity with this desire to learn. There's a lot of like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I can't raise $26 million?
Yep.
What if I can't help this institute in South Florida that's been successful for so long? Have you ever had to battle any of that, or you've never allowed any of that to even creep into your mindset?
I think I've been really lucky. I've always been surrounded in institutions that I've had the opportunity to lead, to have great boards, great staff, and a great community. It's really, I was talking to our interns the other day. So we have an amazing internship program this year, 110 paid high school interns who spend 25 hours a month at the museum. Amazing program. And we had graduation on Monday. And, I was talking to them, and they're like, what's the biggest tip you can give us as a CEO? And one of the things I said was, be a good listener. Listen to what, in my case, listen to what the community's looking for, listen to your board, listen to your donors, listen to the dad with a young kid who comes through the museum and is giving you feedback about what their kid loves or doesn't love. So, I've really tried to react to the community, support the community in each community I've been in.
So you hit on something there. You hit on the board, you hit on the community, you hit on the dad, you hit on the interns, you hit on the staff. You serve a lot of people. And sitting as the CEO of Mods, I would tell you from spending time with you and learning about your business, you've got like 3,000 different kinds of customers.
Yep.
The board is your customers, and the staff are your customers, and the kids are your customers, and the parents are your customers. How do you serve all of them? How do you somehow tie the singular mission and purpose in one direction that ends up feeding all of those people and keeping everybody happy?
You prioritize, right? And so for me, at the very top of the list of my customer is the kids.
Yeah.
And, if the kids are having a great time and the kids are learning, the kids love coming, the parents are going to be happy. If the kids and the parents are happy, then more people are coming through, which keeps the board happy.
Yep.
And then, board's happy, funding goes well, staff is happy. So no, we always prioritize the children first. and make sure that what we're doing always centers them.
I think the word humble comes across as you're speaking and people are recognizing you right now. You've done an incredible job of fostering and creating partnerships with some of the biggest brands and biggest businesses and biggest names in South Florida. What have been some of the keys to success in you fostering those relationships and partnerships?
You know, we are so lucky at the museum because, you know, we have been around almost 50 years. We've got a great board, but it's really about making those connections. You know, what is it that someone is looking for that aligns with something that we're doing? And so, you know, we can certainly help with the marketing, the impact, all of those. But our STEM-mobile is a great example. So we have our mobile outreach van, started with one, we now have 5. This year we'll be out in the community serving almost 100,000 children. And what's really amazing is 85% of the programs we deliver, whether it's to the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Jack and Jill, Broward County Public Schools, 85% are at no cost, thanks to our incredible partnerships with all of those partners, whether it's FPL, whether it's the city of Fort Lauderdale. You know, we're opening today our new traveling exhibit, Survival of the Slowest, in our traveling. I'm so excited. We have a live sloth that's going to be here at the museum all summer long. Yes, there are going to be VIP sloth meet and greets, so you can come in and meet the sloth. But we did that. We're doing this exhibit and all of our traveling exhibits in partnership with Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. You know, great children's hospital, great museum that serves children. It's a great alignment. Their CEO, Caitlin Steller's incredible. You know, and on and on and on. You know, we can go down the list, but it's really about making that connection. You know, we're redesigning our health exhibit with Broward Health, again, listening to what they need and making it a great fit.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up on that, because listening to what somebody's needs are and then figuring out how that aligns with the museum has to mean that some people are just not a fit. So how do you manage not taking everybody in? How do you manage finding the right fit for the museum and partnerships and saying no to people? Do you do that?
You know, we've got a really strong strategic plan. And so the board, the staff, myself, you know, we worked on our strategic plan 2020 through 25. We've got clear goals. We've got very clear, this is what we do. We do early childhood ed, environmental sustainability, health and wellness, physical science. You know, we don't do, you know, South Florida history, for example. We leave that to the History Museum. We know what we do. We know how we want to do it. And so we really make sure that we align with our strategic plan, with our mission, with our vision, and with our values. If someone doesn't align with our values, then they don't align.
Okay, so that leads me to, I think, maybe a little bit more difficult of a question. You do an amazing job of walking this line between working with the state and around the state, and we live in a unique state when it comes to education and politics and all of the legislation that's been created over the past couple of years about what we can and can't say to kids and provide for kids. How do you navigate that line of being a nonprofit or working with the state and for the state, but also keeping the kids in mind, saying, well, we have to do what's best for them in order to serve them? How do you do that?
You know, I think it is something you have to navigate. And what I remind staff all the time is that we have to stay true to our mission of connecting people to inspiring science. And we do that in ways that we believe. And so for us, you know, something that we hold really strong is access. And we want to provide access to the entire community. We want to make sure that we're serving the entire community. We don't care who you are, what your background is, where you're from. We want to make sure that this is your museum. And so for us, that means celebrating everyone. It means providing programs. We have wonderful programs this summer, our Blue Star Museums. It's for military families who can come to the museum anytime over the summer, Memorial Day to Labor Day. The military family member doesn't even need to be present, and it's free admission. And we couple that with Museums for All. Anyone with an EBT card can come to the museum for $2 a person every time. So we're really about opening our doors, being for everyone, and we think that's the right thing to do, being a museum for everyone.
So when you were talking about the curriculums, you just talked about some of the programs that you have coming in. I know because I'm there almost every weekend with Jules, and Kai will go during the summer. He went to the Harry Potter camp last year. How do you decide what comes in and what stays? Like, you guys created the Discovery Spot. It's an amazing exhibit for kids 6 and under. You have to limit the amount of people that can be in there during the hour because it's so popular. How is you as the executive director, you as the CEO and the decision maker, how do you decide what goes in and what doesn't?
Yeah, so we've planned out through 2027. I've got exhibits that are booked through the end of 27 into 2028 right now, which is great. And we have a process. So we know, for example, our traveling exhibits in the fall, when most kids are at school, early childhood is key. So we focus on the younger kids. In the spring, when it's spring field trip season, we focus on things that have a little bit more heavy content. And in summer, the gloves are off. We do something which is wild and crazy and fun, usually dinosaurs, superheroes, or this summer, sloths and adorable, adorable animals.
You said my favorite word, process. In case you guys haven't noticed, Joe has a process and a system for everything that happens, which has been part of what's been so much fun about aligning with you and connecting with you. You are incredible. You do so much. You serve the community. I know what kind of stuff you do in your personal time. You travel and you get around. You made it a point to get out to Vegas and see the Sphere, to see what they were doing because of your desire to continue to learn. What are some of the tips on staying at a high level for yourself? You have to serve so many people. You have so many people pulling at you and so much to do. How do you keep your energy levels high, and how do you stay in the mindset that you have?
I love the energy. I love the energy. It's like, even in my downtime, I'm never someone who's just going to sit down and do nothing. I'm always doing stuff, whether I'm in the garden, pottering with my orchids, grafting new plants, being outside, I just never stop. I never stop. It's like, even when I'm reading, I'm usually reading 3 or 4 different books at the same time. Because, I want a business book, I want 2 fantasy books, and then I probably am reading a bunch of comics as well.
Any recommendations on books that people should read?
If you're into science fiction, Netflix had their show, but the book, 3-Body Problem, the series 3-Body Problem, the greatest science fiction trilogy of the last 20 years, hands down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other recommendations if people aren't into science fiction?
Yeah. So I've been reading recently, amazing author, Kathy Hirsch-Pasek, amazing educator, wrote a book called Making Schools Work, Bringing the Science of Learning to Joyful Classroom Practice. It's really about taking some of the elements that make science museums, children's museums so successful and putting that into the classroom. Playful learning is something we do every day through our partnership with the Lego Foundation. And so Kathy's an amazing author who's really on the cutting edge of education.
how do you continue to feed your desire to learn? You're reading 3 different books. How do you keep that fire alive? How do you not reach a point where you're like, I know it. I know what to do. How do you not rely on your knowledge?
You know, there's so many, the museum world is so collaborative. And so I'm constantly inspired by some of my other friends who are leading other institutions. And I'm like, oh, that's really great. How could I bring that to Fort Lauderdale? Or, Fort Lauderdale could totally do that better than that. And, you know, I always want to see us grow, flourish, and continue to be this jewel in South Florida's crown.
Well, Joe, an absolutely wonderful interview. Great. This is one of my favorite huddles in the hot seat. So thank you so much for that. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that? And if people want information from the museum, what's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. Look me up on LinkedIn. Would love to connect. And check out mods.org, mods.org. Thank you. And all of the social media, mods FTL.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for being a wonderful leader in our community and all you do for us. Thank you for being a huddler in the hot seat. This was a wonderful interview. Everybody have a great weekend. Remember, the grind includes Saturday and Sunday. And if you've got some time, get over to the museum this weekend because the sloth exhibit is opening. Have a great weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get